SVG's Jason Dachman here with another episode of SVG SportsTech On Demand, covering all the latest technology news this spring season. I have the privilege to be joined by Andy Liebman, founder and CSO of EditShare, and Sunil Mudholkar, Vice President of Product Management at EditShare. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate the time. I know how busy your schedules are during this time, and I can't tell you how much I'm happy to chat with you. So I wanted to start out with, Andy, for those that don't know or aren't familiar with EditShare, which I think most people are at this point, but just briefly, a little background on you guys and what you guys provide.
Well, so EditShare makes high-performance collaborative storage systems as well as media management workflow solutions for creating content on-premise, in the cloud, and in between. And kind of our mantra since the beginning was that we're all about extracting the complexity out of real-time collaboration. We want to make it incredibly easy to work together. That was my problem as a producer before I started EditShare, and it was my determination to solve my own problems, and that was the genesis of EditShare. And so, what we wanted to do from the get-go was to make it easier and more affordable to collaborate and to get a superior product with less effort. And of course, that has carried through no matter what segment of media production we're talking about, whether it's news, features, documentaries, or sports productions. And we have tons of sports customers who take advantage of our products.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are heavily into the sports space, even more so over the last few years, I think we've noticed. And a couple, big name clients, big name events. So I'll throw it out to either of you guys, but maybe a good example of one of the workflows that you helped develop with a sports client recently.
Well, sure. And Sunil, please jump in there if as appropriate. So I think one of the most impressive sports workflows we've worked on recently has been a project we did with Amazon Prime Video. And this was truly a worldwide collaborative production effort, which largely depended on remote production in the cloud. And so just, to kind of give you a picture of what was going on, there was an ATP tennis tournament taking place in Monte Carlo, and SDI signal was traveling to London, where we recorded it. We sent the video to a data center, an AWS data center in Virginia, and then we had two editors in Los Angeles using Adobe Premiere connecting to with a remote desktop, connecting to a virtualized Windows workstation, each of them in Virginia. So they were basically seeing a picture of a desktop, a virtual machine in Virginia, right, on their computers back in Los Angeles. And they edited together collaboratively and produced sports highlights for a live production. And it was just an amazing experience.
A very cool workflow. So why would someone want to work that way necessarily in terms of the multi-continent workflow and all that? Why did Amazon elect to do that with you guys?
Well, sports events are taking place everywhere in the world, and it can be really draining for the people who work on them to constantly be traveling, changing time zones. So, for one, the workflow was very convenient for very talented editors who didn't have to get on a plane and go change time zones by 8 or 9 hours. But also, I think, Amazon Prime Video wants to open up the possibility of hiring the very best person for a specific job. If they are doing a particular sport and they have an editor who is just awesome at editing highlights for that sport, they can go pick that person up for a 2 or 3 day job, and the person doesn't, have to spend a week traveling to get there and back.
Right. You get the best possible talent no matter where they are.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Look, I think we all know we're going to have more of those kind of workflows once sports resume with everything that's going on, and we'll get to that here in a few moments. But first, I'm sure that you guys had some big announcements that were going to come down at NAB, and unfortunately, there won't be a physical show in Vegas this year. But that said, it doesn't mean the news stops, right? Sunil, give me a few highlights from recent announcements, big product releases, things that people can look out for from EditShare that would have taken place at NAB, but are still happening today.
Yeah, no, good point, Jason. The world doesn't stop, and so everybody keeps chugging. And our R&D team has been, really hard at work, meeting what are now sort of those virtual deadlines, shall we say, in terms of deliverables that we've been putting out there. I think the most exciting one, that we've been gearing up for is the launch of EFSV, which is our cloud, cloud production capabilities. So, what Andy was really referring to previously in terms of the work that he had done and the team had done with the Amazon Prime Video folks was call it a beta version, right, so to speak, of what we just announced. We're pretty excited about it because, it really takes all the capabilities that we had previously in an on-prem storage and high-performant file system and an asset management product, and put those in a number of public cloud options. And so, a couple of things that allows people to take advantage of right now that are, that are really timely. Certainly the ability to access a full workstation and high-speed collaborative storage capabilities in a public cloud environment is super handy to have right now.
Of course.
And in addition to that, as sort of remote workers are turning up and turning down in terms of, how staffing is working these days, right? The ability for those resources to be, used on demand, so to speak, right? On any day, you can fire up just the amount of storage that you need, or just the amount of workstations that you need, and allow your team to sort of expand and contract as needed on a daily basis. And what better way to take advantage of those resources than what the public cloud infrastructures have put into place today. So we're super excited about it, especially makes for a really good use case to be able to do things like store archives in the cloud and get access to projects that you may have parked for a period of time.
It's extremely timely, to say the least, as everybody's looking for those kind of workflows right now and those kind of tool sets. In addition to EFSV, any other big things that you'd like to highlight from the spring season in terms of the innovation cycle?
Yeah, I mean, Flow has always been a really powerful asset management platform. And so we'll be showing off some things to integrate with even more closely with the NLE of choice, right, for a number of our customers. This will allow for a more seamless integration between, work that gets done at sort of perhaps either the rough cut or sort of asset management or metadata tagging workflows, and allow that to more easily transition to the craft editors that people are using on a daily basis.
Sure.
That's one. Andy, maybe it's worthwhile for you to also speak a little bit about some of the sports metadata integrations that we've been taking a look at. Those are, ideally suited for some of the stuff that people are trying to do with bringing in some timely information.
Sure. So it's a very key component of our Flow media asset management and our storage that we have this open API that sits on top of everything, that allows third parties to integrate, and customers as well, to integrate with us to be able to get content and information in and out of our systems. And really one of the key integrations we're working on right now is with different sports metadata companies, right? So there are various companies. One of them is a company called Thews. Sure. Another one is a company called Sportscast. And there are many of them out there. And they collect data at the sports venue about everything that's going on during a sports event. And what we want to be able to do is suck up all that data to get it into our Flow media management database, so that essentially you're getting automated logging. You find out everything that's going on during the event. When was there a foul? When was there a score? When was there a corner kick? When was there a dunk? Who did it? And, so again, this is all this is all aimed at getting both collaboration and a better product with a lot less effort, right?
Right.
The more information you have about the content, the more quickly and better you can put it together. And the great thing about this project is that it's the third parties that are able to do the integration because of the whole integration, the whole infrastructure that we've set up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the NLE integration that you guys are rolling out. Sunil, can you expand a little bit more on that? What's some of the details on that?
Yeah, we've been spending a lot of time at EditShare on sort of our external API framework and how, it interfaces both our MIM and our storage with third-party components. We're noticing that the NLE manufacturers are doing the same thing. They're expanding their APIs and their ability to seamlessly tie in with other tools. And so we've been spending a fair amount of time with integrating our asset management system with a panel type architecture that these NLEs support. And we think that will make for very seamless sort of drag and drop workflows and expanded opportunities for interaction between the two parts of the ecosystem.
Very cool.
What we see is that our customers would prefer to stay in their nonlinear editor application and not go out to a different application. So by putting a panel in the NLE that has all the features they need, it's a win for both of us. We get the customer to use the media management features, but they stay in their NLE.
You guys mentioned the EFSV platform, the virtualized video editing and storage platform. I brings up a point that, look, I think we all know that there will be an end to this, of course, and things will come back to a sense of normalcy in our media and entertainment sector of the world, but they're going to look very different, whether it's sports or studio production. There'll be a lot more remote. I think people are obviously very interested in collaborative editing tools, like EFSV. I'm curious if each of you can just kind of briefly discuss, how do you believe the industry is going to change as a result of this? How do you see workflows changing? How do you see tendencies of content producers changing? And Sunil, I'll let you go first, and then Andy, you can take last legs.
Yeah, sure. So listen, as a season ticket holder to a number of Boston area sports teams, there is nobody on earth that is more looking forward to seeing some event take place, regardless of what it is in the pseudo near future. But to that extent, in terms of there are certainly going to be some new technologies, new processes, new workflows that are adopted now that are going to be here to stay. I mean, we've seen events in the past, that have significant sort of cultural impact, make people pivot perhaps earlier than they would have previously towards the technology decisions that they use on an everyday basis. And certainly, video production, I think, is no different. Some of the use cases that we are seeing coming up now that we think, are being accelerated and will likely be here to stay. So I had mentioned earlier things like cloud archival as an option. The public cloud providers are, working very closely with folks like ourselves to create very efficient, low-cost areas for projects and archives to be parked in the cloud for ease of future spin-up, right? So what we mean by that is, take a particular event or a particular season, right? It's now pretty cost effective to be able to park that media long-term storage in the cloud. And, when you have sort of what's going on right now, the ability to say, hey, you know what? I want to go access the 88, 89 season, right? And I want to spin up that media onto a really high performance system because I'm going to have a few people go in and curate a highlight reel from that year or a best of from that year or the draft from that year or whatever it is, right? And its impact. And you can now take that media, which is being parked in the cloud, you can spin that up into a live project virtually immediately by restoring that content into a high performant file system and allowing immediate access, right, to a group of production specialists to go and create that piece of final media.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a really interesting one. And also, as we were referring to earlier, being able to go into the system and say, I want to create some social media content. I want to, keep my fans engaged during this time when they may not be at our events, but I want to be able to push out, really rapidly some super interesting or high impact, short form media, right? That's another area where accessing the cloud has a lot of advantages because you don't really need on-premise gear to do that.
No question. Yeah. And Andy, you're a producer at heart. You come from a production background. How do you see workflows changing as time moves on? And let's be honest, there's not going to be a time again where there's a bunch of editors in one room or a bunch of people in one truck. It's going to be very different, right?
Well, the media content creation industry is no different than any other industry, really, that, the people who work in it have always wanted to be able to work anywhere, right? They just want access to their content no matter where they are, whether they're on set, whether they're on location, whether they're at home, whether they're on vacation, like every other industry. And, we've been listening to our customers for years. We came out with the idea, like 6 years ago, of an on-premise private cloud with our Flow Media Management, where we made it possible to open up your facility so that you could access your content anywhere. And, back then, when we asked people what they wanted, they weren't necessarily saying they wanted the cloud. They just wanted to be able to work wherever they were. And in fact, we won the IBC Technology Innovation Award for that. I think it was in 2015 or 2016, for the way we were able to make a reality show work between Central America and Germany with all these remote workflows. Now, today, it's much more possible to actually do all of that in the public cloud. And so where I see this going is increasingly people are going to put their content in probably the public cloud, if not that, then a private data center, and they are going to be able to access it anywhere. The price is going to come down. The workflow is going to get smoother. I will say, I think one of the keys is it could be that we need to make the transition, the shift back and forth between proxy resolution workflows and high-res workflows absolutely transparent, because cloud storage is a little bit costly today,
Sure.
and at least the highest performance storage. And we believe, that if we can make that transition between the two really slick and smooth, so that the customer doesn't have to worry about what's offline resolution and what's online, that this is going to be the way to make remote editing and cloud editing actually happen for real.
Yeah, that's going to be the holy grail. So once we get there, I think that'll be a big revolution, no question. Andy and Sunil, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you guys so much. Again, I know how busy you are, but our thoughts to the entire EditShare team, and please stay safe, stay healthy, guys.
Yeah, same to you folks. Appreciate the time.
Thanks very much.
For more episodes of SVG Sports Tech On Demand, stay tuned to sportsvideo.org and the SVG YouTube channel.